Hey everyone, Andrew here, and today we're going to highlight the biggest and most gargantuan ships in Star Wars lore. For this video, it's all about size, from lowest to greatest. But here's a quick note. For the purpose of this video, we're focusing on ships that exist throughout Star Wars canon, with maybe a couple cheats, but all these ships have been referenced or seen in some form in the modern Star Wars canon rather than just ye old Legends or expanded universe canon. So, here are the top 10 largest ships in Star Wars history. The Interdictor class Star Destroyer, aka the Immobilizer 418 cruiser, aka the Immobilizer for short, returned to the modern Star Wars canon in the 0-hour episode of Star Wars Rebels. The Interdictor Star Destroyers were 600 meters in length, and they were equipped with 4 gravity well projectors. With these gravity wells, the Interdictor could literally pull passing ships out of hyperspace. While this state-of-the-art technology was a huge difference maker for the Galactic Empire, stark vulnerabilities caused the discontinuation of production of the Interdictor before the Battle of Yavin. The Profundity was one of the larger ships in the Rebel fleet, coming in at 1.2 kilometers in length and a height of 435 meters. If you saw Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, this was the main flagship of the Rebel Alliance fleet that appeared above Scarif to assist Rogue One in its mission to steal the Death Star plans. Designed by the Mon Calamari, the Profundity was commandeered by Admiral Raddus and helped turn the tide against the Empire and led Rebels forces to break through the Empire's shield and blockade to transmit the plans for the Death Star to the Rebel Alliance. Without the Profundity leading the charge for the orbital battle at Scarif, the Galactic Civil War might have been over before it really began. You guys all know this one. The Imperial Star Destroyer acted as the capital ships of the Galactic Empire and were a symbol of the Empire oppression throughout the Galactic Civil War. The Star Destroyers measured 1.6 kilometers in length, and standard Rebel Alliance ships struggled to stand up to their might and weaponry. Its hangar bay could serve as a launching bay for TIE fighters, boarding crafts, assault units, probes, or even capture Rebel Alliance spacecrafts. However, while the Star Destroyers are big, they are still dwarfed by Super Star Destroyers. The Finalizer was one of the top ships of the First Order Navy and featured in Star Wars The Force Awakens, carrying the likes of Kylo Ren and General Hux for engagements over Jakku and Takodana. The Finalizer was much larger than the basic Imperial Star Destroyers for the Galactic Empire, coming in at 2.9 kilometers in length, so ridiculously huge. This heavily armed battlecruiser is packed to the teeth with weapons, including turbo lasers, ion cannons, missile launchers, and turrets. Well, Resistance fighters, make your move, I guess. The Raddus is a heavy cruiser for the Resistance in its conflict against the First Order, and it will be seen in Star Wars: The Last Jedi. The Mon Calamari designed vessel comes in at over 3 kilometers in length. The ship was built by the New Republic prior to signing the Military Disarmament Act just before the end of the Galactic Civil War. The ship is named after the Mon Calamari Admiral for the Rebel Alliance, Raddus, who bravely fought against the Empire at the Battle of Scarif, as mentioned earlier, which was depicted in Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. Legendary. All of the other ships in this list are absolutely pathetic. In comparison to this one, my personal favorite. Why do bad guys only get the biggest and baddest ships? Well, during the time of the Galactic Empire and the Galactic Civil War, the Eclipse-class Dreadnought, or Star Destroyer, served as the personal flagship for Emperor Sheev Palpatine himself. Technically, these images we're showing on the screen are of the Eclipse in the expanded universe or Legends version. However, the Eclipse did make its new Star Wars canon debut in the book Aftermath: Empire's End. However, there really isn't a new visual reference or description of the canon version of the Eclipse for its inclusion in Aftermath. This massive ship was previously depicted as slightly shorter in length than the Executor Super Star Destroyer at 17.5 kilometers. That is worthy of Palpatine. However, where it lacked in length, I guess you could say, it made up for in sheer, destructive power. The Legends version of the Eclipse was armed with a super laser comparable to the Death Star's main weapon. Palpatine, you're the freaking man. In total, the Eclipse was one ship that contained the firepower for an entire planet. In current Star Wars canon, the Eclipse served as the rallying point for Imperial remnants to reconvene and rebuild the Empire anew, eventually turning into, you guessed it, the First Order. However you want to classify these ships, whether they be Super Star Destroyers or Executor-class dreadnoughts, these massive Imperial warships were the ultimate equalizer for the Empire during the Galactic Civil War. These massive capital ships measured 19,000 meters. That's 19 kilometers for Americans in length. The Executor was the Super Star Destroyer that served as Darth Vader's personal flagship, which was seen both in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. In Jedi, the ship met its explosive end when the command bridge was destroyed and it was sent crashing into the hull of the second Death Star. For a size comparison on the Executor, it runs almost the entire length of the island of Manhattan. The Supremacy will make its debut in Star Wars The Last Jedi as the main flagship of Supreme Leader Snoke. Even bigger than Palpatine? Unfortunately, yeah. This is the first of the Mega-class Star Destroyers in Star Wars history. In previous Star Wars story, we saw Super Star Destroyers, but a Mega-class Star Destroyer is something completely new. This ship is a whopping 60 kilometers in length. Thankfully for the Resistance, the Supremacy is the only Mega-class Star Destroyer in existence that we know of. The mother of all Imperial superweapons was the Death Star, an orbital battle station with the power to render whole planets into smithereens. Does the Death Star count as a ship, you ask? Do not dislike this video. Wait a second. Because you're damn right it does count as a ship. While it was sphere-shaped ball of destruction, the Death Star still had its own hyperdrive system that could travel through hyperspace. The Death Star had a width of 160 kilometers and its cargo capacity was over 1 million kilotons. The Death Star contained 1.5 million crew personnel, and its primary weapon was the MK1 super laser, which was revealed in Rogue One as being powered by kyber crystals. Kyber crystals are the same mineral that powered Jedi lightsabers. Essentially, the Death Star was terror given physical form, but it had a pretty noticeable weakness, I would say. You think the Empire engineers would have taken note of that when they rebuilt the Death Star? It was essentially destroyed the exact same way. Okay. The Death Star was big, really big. The Death Star 2 was even bigger, with the width of 200 kilometers. So even in its unfinished state, the second Death Star was bigger than the original. Its weaknesses were still major, obviously. While Imperial forces stationed an energy shield for the second Death Star on the forest moon of Endor, Rebel Alliance forces and little cute things called Ewoks were able to disable it, allowing small rebel ships to enter the station's superstructure and blow it up from within with a few well-placed blaster shots. To be honest, it was fairly easy if you really look at it. The phrase, "the bigger they are," comes to mind here. At some point, the Empire even made a third Death Star, which you can see in the original version of Star Tours. The third Death Star was equally weak, but the canon existence of the third Death Star is somewhat questionable. And that was our list of the top 10 largest ships in Star Wars history based on size. But what did you think of the list? Are there any ships notable in size for the Star Wars universe that we might have missed? Should we have included ships from the expanded universe? Please let us know in the comments section below, and if you liked this video or enjoyed it in any capacity, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, especially for Emperor Palpatine's ship. And check out some of our other Star Wars themed content. Be sure to subscribe to catch that in your inbox each and every day. My name's Andrew, and may the Force be with you always.